Imagine the scene. The sun dips below the horizon and the world is plunged into a crushing, suffocating darkness. We were not the masters of the planet. We were the prey. We were small. We were weak, and we were constantly hunted. We spent our nights huddled in the damp, freezing backs of caves, listening to the guttural growls of saber-toothed cats and the chattering of hyenas just outside the entrance. We couldn't fight them. We couldn't even see them. We could only huddle together, shaking, praying that the morning would bring another day of survival. This wasn't just a physical struggle. It was a psychological trauma that lasted for tens of thousands of generations. The night belonged to the predators, and humans were completely helpless once the light faded. Every single night was a test of endurance, a waiting game where the only goal was to see the sunrise. Our ancestors had to adapt to this terrifying reality, developing a hypervigilance that kept them awake at the slightest sound of a rustling leaf or a snapping twig. The darkness was an absolute wall, separating us from safety, from food, and from freedom. We were prisoners of the sun, forced to squeeze all of our hunting, gathering, and living into the brief hours of daylight. The moment the shadows lengthened, our world shrank to the size of whatever small crevice we could wedge ourselves into. Then, on a day like any other, the world changed forever. Thunder rolled across the plains, louder than anything our ancestors had ever heard. The sky split open, and a streak of brilliant, jagged white light slammed into a dry, ancient tree. In an instant, that tree became a towering column of orange, hungry flame. To us, it looked like a monster. It moved like a living thing, consuming the wood, dancing, twisting, and reaching out with burning fingers. Most of our ancestors would have run in terror, scattering into the brush to hide from this terrifying new force, but just one didn't. Fueled by a strange, dangerous mix of curiosity and the desperate need to stop the shivering, they walked toward the light. They watched as the heat pushed back the biting cold of the storm. They noticed how the smoke rose into the sky, creating a beacon that could be seen from miles away. It was a terrifying moment of realization. This force, which could destroy entire forests, also possessed a strange magnetic power. It was the birth of a new kind of bravery, a willingness to confront the unknown rather than flee from it. This single individual stepped closer, feeling the intense warmth wash over their face, realizing that this terrifying phenomenon might just be the key to their survival. This was the first great act of human defiance. We didn't just find fire, we stole it. We took a glowing, burning branch from that fallen tree and carried it, trembling, back to our caves. We discovered that this monster was a tool. It held back the night. It kept the predators at bay. For the first time in human history, the shadows retreated. When a predator approached our cave now, they didn't see a helpless human. They saw a wall of shifting, biting heat. We had carved out a safe zone in a hostile world. We were no longer hiding in the dark. We were beginning to stand our ground. Feeding the fire became our most sacred duty. We realized that if the flame died, the darkness and the predators would return with a vengeance. Tribes began to designate keepers of the flame, individuals whose sole responsibility was to ensure that the fire never went out. This required planning, cooperation, and a deep understanding of wood and embers. We learned how to transport it carefully during long journeys, wrapping glowing coals in layers of green leaves and clay. Fire became our most prized possession, a portable piece of safety that we could carry into the unknown. But the impact went deeper than just warmth. It changed who we were biologically. One day, a piece of raw, tough meat fell into the embers. We ate it. It was softer, easier to digest, and packed with more energy than anything we'd ever eaten before. This changed everything because we didn't have to spend all day chewing tough raw food. Our jaws became smaller and our teeth changed shape. Our digestive tracts adapted to this pre-digested fuel, shrinking significantly and freeing up metabolic energy for other organs, and most importantly, all that extra energy fueled a massive expansion in our brains. Fire quite literally cooked us into becoming human. We grew smarter, faster, and more capable of complex thought because we learned how to cook. The introduction of cooked starch and meat accelerated our cognitive development, turning a standard primate brain into a powerhouse of innovation. We became the fire ape, a unique creature whose very biology was intertwined with the technology we had captured from nature. Fire also gave us something else: time. In the dark, we had to sleep or remain motionless as soon as the sun went down. But with a campfire, the night became ours. We sat in a circle, face to face, the flames dancing in our eyes. We started to speak. We shared the day's hunts, we warned each other of dangers, and we began to dream of things that didn't exist. This was the birth of language, of culture, and of storytelling. The fire was our first meeting place. It was the original social network, a place where bonds were forged and traditions were passed down through generations. Around the hearth, the rules of human society were written. We learned the value of sharing food, of protecting the weak, and of working together as a cohesive unit. The warmth of the fire fostered empathy and connection, transforming loose bands of individuals into tight-knit tribes. We began to paint on the cave walls by the flickering light, creating the first art, and we began to bury our dead with rituals, reflecting on our place in the cosmos. The firelight provided the perfect stage for the human imagination to ignite. Everything you see around you today, the skyscrapers, the computers, the planes, the lights of the city, all of it is just a distant, sophisticated echo of that first campfire. We haven't stopped being fire users, we just moved the fire into internal combustion engines, into giant power plants, and into the microscopic circuits of the screens you are staring at right now. We are the only species that dared to reach out and pull a piece of the sun into our own homes. We are the descendants of those who were brave enough to stop running from the wild and start building civilization. Every piece of modern technology is a direct descendant of that original stolen ember. That ancient spark didn't just keep us warm during a forgotten ice age. It lit the permanent path for the entire human race, guiding us out of the caves and toward the stars.